I don't want to make too big of a deal of your entrance here, but I feel like the last couple of weeks, especially after some of the tougher questions we had to ask, it didn't feel like you were necessarily yourself with us, right? There wasn't a joke. There wasn't, like, it was a challenging time. It feels like we've gotten you back a little bit based on the start here. Did you?
One thing you know about me, I'm the same person every day. So
Even
you can
you thought you were the same person?
sure. That's the gauntlet of an NFL football season, you know, and it's. I don't know if I've said it to you guys before, but I say it, you know, especially to a lot of young coaches. If you're in this thing long enough, you're going to experience the highest of highs, and unfortunately, you're going to experience the lowest of lows, and that's part of when you sign up for the National Football League. That's part of the deal.
What do you think how do you feel about what you're experiencing now, which is certainly higher than it had been? Does it feel good to have your guys playing the way they are?
Oh, of course. You know, this is a show me league. It's a show me business. It's a production based business, and it's brutal and harsh at times. But of course, when the guys, you know, both from a player standpoint, everybody. I don't care if you're a coach, a player, or whatever. When you're in this, it's about winning, and it's about playing good, and it's about production. That's what makes this league so great and so incredibly competitive. So, you know, I told the guys a month ago when we were still playing relevant football in December. You know, nothing's better now. We're one of 8 teams right now, and we're playing relevant football in January. So it's exciting.
Joe, how did you get this thing turned around from where things were after Tampa to where it is now? I mean, to go out there and do what you did to Dallas, it's tough to do. How did you get that turned around?
It's one game. You know, it's you know, you play. You're guaranteed 17 of these things, and hopefully you get, you know, more opportunities. But that's the thing about this league is that you get 17 ops. Of course, you want all 17 of them to be perfect and awesome and great. But you know, you're going to have a bad day at the office. It happens, and I think the key thing is, you know, to never let an opponent beat you twice. You know, and you know, I tell you guys all the time, I appreciate the thing I love about veteran players, for example, like Kenny Clark. I talk to you guys. The number one thing I always say about Kenny Clark, is consistency. You know exactly what you're going to get every single day. And I think the way you get out of a rut, the way you just keep believing, you keep digging, you keep chopping wood. You know, you don't look for the light at the end of the tunnel. You just keep digging, and eventually it's going to get there. So, and I think that's really important to do when you do have a bad week or a bad stretch. But our players, our coaches, they just kept digging. They just kept chopping, and you know, thankfully they did, because we're where we're at now. We're still playing relevant football in January.
Joe, what do you think of the collection of ball handlers in San Francisco, the runners, throwers, and catchers?
Yeah, I mean, I have an incredible amount of respect for Kyle as a coach, as a play caller. You know, just being in that division for 4 years when I was in LA. But then when you put, you know, all the pieces that he has around him, you know, they're elite at a lot of spots. You know, the running back, the tight end, you know, the wideouts, you know, and when you add that to a guy that's you know, arguably one of the best at calling plays, he's got a lot of toys to play with, and he does a great job. If you look at, you know, Ayuk is their leading receiver from a number standpoint, but then if you look at McCaffrey next, and then George next, and then Debo next, it's amazing how close they are and how they're able to, you know, you only get to play with one football. And it's amazing how they can spread that around, and how close those 4 guys are from a reception standpoint, at least. But they're a special unit. There's no doubt about it.
Joe, after the game, Joe was kind of explaining what his week was like just to get ready for this thing. What did you see from him with that? And just what did that mean, knowing kind of what he was going through for him to play the way that he did?
Yeah, you know, I think he's he's a little bit further ahead this week than obviously he was last week. But last week, to be quite honest with you, when he did what he did on Wednesday, I honestly did not think that there was any chance. So for him, but just him being the way he is, he stayed locked in. He stayed, wired in the game plan. And last week when we got to Saturday, he said, you know what, I'm going to give it a shot. And obviously we worked him out Sunday, and it worked out. But I give all the credit in the world to him, because just for him to stay locked into the game plan, for him to just stay so focused on Thursday, on Friday, on Saturday, and then be able to not only go play, but play the way he did, it's a credit to him as a pro.
Joe, Kenny and Preston have both used the term, how you're dialing it up to describe kind of some of the pressures. Have you done anything different fundamentally from how you're calling games since that Carolina game? That, the players can execute, obviously, but up in the booth, you told us your back was against the wall. Have you changed anything about the way you call the game?
No, I mean, I've tried not to. I think it's just, I credit the guys with the way that they've just gone out, and I'm a big process-oriented guy, and I talk to the guys all the time about that. It's process over results, and if we just keep going out and every Wednesday stacking a block, every Thursday stacking a block, every Friday, even on Saturday when we go for our our walkthroughs, if we just believe in the process, and then believe that we have a great 4-day work week, and then go out and execute on Saturday or on Sunday, and I think the guys they've always bought into that, and they've always believed in that, and they're doing it week in and week out right now, which is great to see.
I think we had a handful of rookies on defense play at least like 20 snaps Sunday. How have they been? What do they have in common that has enabled them to kind of play with poise in these kind of situations with so little experience?
Yeah, I mean, I give them credit, obviously, for working their butts off and staying locked in. I give credit to their coaches, but to me, every team has veterans. I really, really credit, and the Kenny Clarks, the Preston Smiths, the Darnell Savages, the guys, the Devondre Campbells. We have those guys in each room that have been there from the start with these guys when they were here as rookies, not even knowing where the cafeteria was when they first got here, and just showing those guys how to be pros, showing those guys how to prepare. Because I share this with you guys often. You never know when your time's going to come. Anthony Johnson never knew, that Carrington Valentine, as both those guys as 7th-round draft picks, they never knew that they were going to end up having to play as much as they've played.